Hi, I'm Steve Shelburne, owner and operator of Shelburne Rv, here in beautiful Cleveland, Tennessee. All right, good morning from Shelburne Rv. Jan and I are back from our trip up to Wichita, Kansas, and the Coleman Air Excel plant. Shout out to those folks. Appreciate you letting us come out and check out your operation. Boys obviously been a little busy while I was gone. So I want to take you around this morning and show you a few things they're working on. We had this one right here traveling through, little Class C. The shower's not draining. I don't know if I'll be able to grab a video of that quick. Let's see, we'll see. Let me take you around and show you what's going on. They've been working on a few things while we're gone. I've got this floor back here. I want to kind of show you. I know we show floors all the time, but I did something a little different this time. It was kind of interesting. So I'm going to take you back here and show you this. Let's go check out a few things. All right, so I got James and Lewis back here putting this floor together. Now, you've seen several times how we've done this. Wrap the metal on here to make this a lot nicer. One thing I did change up this time was, and shout out to my friend Ricky over at JDH Roofing Company with his CNC metal bender. He was able to bend that for me, and so I did several of these, try to keep them in stock. But that'll make things a whole lot nicer for doing that. So as you can see, they're gluing the metal down to get all that done, and then we'll be ready to put this floor back in this camper. So we got this Winnebago bumper pull that they just got doing a seal tech test on it. Now they're putting tape around that so that way when they seal it, they can make it look real nice and pretty. But look how much this thing was leaking. I mean, this thing was horrible. And we wonder why the RVs leak. This is the reason why we do the seal test. All right, so good morning. We're up here working on a Holiday Rambler Endeavor with two Dometic Penguin air conditioners with a Dometic 5-button thermostat. Customer brought this in and said that he had no zone 2. So we went in here and did a reinitialization, and that was correct. We did not see zone 2. So we went through and tested the wire connections on the phone cables just to make sure that everything was connected correctly. We did have good continuity. So we did start back here, and you can see Mr. James and Lewis. We did bring up one of our test boards and did put the test board on there. And when we did that and did the reinitialization at the thermostat, typically when you hit mode and zone and then turn the thermostat on, you will get an FF. And then when the thermostat initiates, you should get a zone 1 and a zone 2. Even after doing the initialization, we were only getting a zone 1. We're still not seeing zone 2. So we put the test board on there, and we were actually getting an FF along with an EE, which means it had bad communication between zone 1 and zone 2. So then we did come back here to zone 1, and we put another test board on here along with the test board on zone 2, and then did a reinitialization on that. And when we did have both zone 1 and zone 2. So James and Lewis went back and hooked up the original control board back to zone 2, and we retested again, and we did show zone 1 and zone 2. So we do have a bad control board here on zone 1. So what was basically happening was zone 1 and the thermostat were communicating, but there was no signal coming out of zone 1 to zone 2 communicating with zone 2. So did have a bad zone 1 control board. So they're gonna pull that board out and change it out with the new board you see right there. And then we're gonna turn 120 volt power back on and then retest the system to make sure we have control. So we're gonna do that now. All right, got a brand new 2022 fifth wheel over here. A couple issues I want to show you. This thing's, I mean, brand new, went from the dealership to here. But I want to show you a couple things that we found right off the bat that's a pretty bad deal. So I'm gonna turn this around so you can see. So went to run the slide out today, and look at this. We actually found this stuck underneath the ramp of the slide out floor. So it was down underneath this piece right here. But as you can see right here, look at this. That piece of screw had got in there, had rolled all the way across that. Look what it's done to this brand new floor. Okay, so a couple other things I want to show you. I've got my flashlight right here. Hydraulic leak that they say was coming from the underpinning down here. And I want to show you this right here too. So we're going to crawl up underneath here. I've got this underpinning loose, and you can see how much hydraulic fluid has been leaking right here. But let me crawl up under here so we can see this. And remember, this is a brand new camper, 2022 camper. Let's just see up underneath this thing. You see all the hydraulic fluid that's down in there, and all the wandering screws just laying around in there. Something's been leaking pretty heavily back in here. You can see the stain of the hydraulic fluid, but something's been leaking pretty heavily down through here. So yeah, that's good times right there. Okay, so one other thing I want to show you, I meant to show you when I was in here, is this shower pan is broke right there. So obviously, to change the shower pan, that whole glass door assembly has got to come out of here. But the bad part is, I'm going to show you this right here. Look how the surround is sitting down on top of the shower pan, which that's good. Keeps the water inside here. But the problem is that pan has got to be pulled out this way. Look what's in the way. The toilet. So now the toilet's got to come out to be able to get the shower pan out. Just a lot more work. So we've got the slide back in this Coleman bumper pull where it had the floor rotted out. Now one thing that you can see that we've changed, this was not here. These brackets went up here and one up there. And so as this floor was going in, this thing was moving and causing problems. Most of them that we see have that piece of square tubing across there. So we added this, we cut this down, and that is now pulling this room in correctly. You can see we've got the nice metal down there and got that on there. And then we'll go inside and show you this other piece that we got done. They've got the fascia on the inside back up here. So now you can see the new floors in, and where we showed you, we bent that and put that in there. Now, a lot of y'all are going to question, how come we didn't replace that? This was the customer's demand. He needed a low-cost fix because obviously he's got a lot of problems here. He's got a lot of problems back there. So this was what the customer wanted. They wanted a low-cost solution. The problem was the corners were so rotted out. And this really wasn't that bad. It's got a little bit of staining on it, but that's actually solid. So we just pieced those together. Of course, you can see the nice metal with it bent across there. Thanks to my friend down at JDH Roofing, he was able to get that fixed up for me. So got the fascia back on, they're putting that back in, put a new seal across the top. Everything's working there. We are going to seal test this just to make sure we don't have any leaks over here or across there. But other than that, this is done. Another little project we're working on here, Brandon and I have been working on, is this Allegro bus. Allegro bus came in, and the Xantrax inverter converter was not charging. On the display inside the motor coach, there is a place where it says ACN, and it kept telling us no ACN. Well, when we got to investigating this, the customer has changed these house batteries from 4 6-volts to 4 12-volts. Now, that's all fine because you've got to tie all the positives and all the negatives together. Somehow, he had one of the grounds on this set of batteries going over to this set of battery that had gotten on a negative. So he actually had 24 volts over here. So after resolving that problem, we were kind of convinced that maybe the Xantrax was burned up. It would invert, but it would pass through voltage, but it would not charge the 12 volts to put power back on the battery. Well, so we called our friends over at Xantrax Sales and Service in Nashville, Tennessee, and they had us pull the cover and pull that apart and do some ohming and checking. And way back in the control board of this thing, there was actually a fuse, a glass fuse that was blown. So once we got the glass fuse changed out, we do now have plenty of voltage being charged back onto this house battery. So it took us a few minutes, but all the problems started here where we didn't put the batteries back to 12 volt. We actually wired them to 24 volt and then caused problems in the inverter. So got that straightened up. We're retesting everything. Brandon, you can see, he's putting all the wiring back together after we tested it and made sure everything's good. He's going to wire it back up, and then we're going to put it back in here and retest and make sure everything is verified. All right, so got this big Class A that came in with there's a door that goes in right here, and you can see the door. There it is. That thing is solid wood. There's a track that comes across here. Well, somebody had been in here working on this and had actually used plywood, stapled all this together. And customer stated that he's had 2 roofs put on this thing because the first roof did not last. And so they had actually come in here and screwed from the roof into that plywood. Well, this is all rotted. So what we're gonna have to do is take some 2x6s, and we're gonna use this as an anchor point. This is a solid wall. There's solid wall there. And then I'll show you how we're gonna do this here in a second, but what a mess. All right, so we're up here working on this Winnebago Journey that you guys saw come in a few weeks ago. Just had a chance now to get to working on it, where the pylon had actually ripped off in a windstorm in Gallup, New Mexico. And as you can see, this is what the customer did to keep it down so he could get here. Now, obviously, Winnebago, when they build these, use this nice piece of pylon. And this pylon's actually tucked in to the track right there, as you can see. And then sealant seals that and holds that in place. So I'm not a big fan of that. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to take this rail off completely. And I've got some new rail ordered. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to take all this off. I'm going to bend, you guys have seen us bend the J-wraps on the campers for the underpinning. We're actually going to bend a piece of metal here. I'm going to come back and we're going to square this off so this is all even, and then I'm going to bend a nice piece of metal. We're going to glue that down here, which will keep our radius, because I'm not taking this pylon off. I'm going to leave this pylon. We actually washed this roof before we got into this morning. Washed it real good. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean all this up, and when we put our new PVC extreme ply roofing material on here, we're going to keep this as our radius, and we're going to pull all this tight. And when we put this rail back on here, this along with the new piece of metal we have along with the PVC, we're going to mechanically fasten it with the new rail. That'll keep all this secure, and this will never happen again. So now that you see what we got going on, we'll show you a little bit more here in a few minutes. A little update here on this pocket door. You can see we took some 2x6s and then ripped them lengthwise, so they were only 4 inches. But Lewis actually came in here with a bracket that we were able to screw into this wall to give it some strength, along with another bracket here, hard to see. And then we did put one right here on this end and then screwed this board to this one. And now that thing's solid. So now that we've got the new pocket doors mounted, we're going to go ahead and put the trim back up, but that'll resolve this. This thing's solid. That thing's solid. Now, we don't have any screws in here because remember, this was soft. But we do have this corner piece, that corner piece, and then the one behind us. So Lewis has got the trim on this finished up, so we're going to go in here and take a look at this. Now, I should have done this before, but there was a huge gap right here where this was not pushed up far enough. Now that Lewis has got it pushed up there, you can see how nice and tight that is. That looks a lot better. And now that he's got the trim up here, look how nice. There was a big gap. One there, you can see it there, and then one over here. So now that all this is up here, this is nice and solid. This is not going anywhere now. He did a nice job on this. Next project, we're working on a Schwinn-Tech slide out that's got floor problems down here on the bottom. But as we pulled this out, look at here. Yeah, that's a problem. So they got the slide out. And we've got some issues down here. We're gonna tear into this and you can watch us do that. Okay, so now that we got this back underneath the shed here, you can see that's actually an access point for the back of the shower. And the customer did find out that the shower knob was, the housing was actually leaking. And it has been leaking for a certain amount of time here. And you can see, look at all that, where it has rotted that floor completely out underneath that cabinet. So, we're gonna have to dig into that and see what's going on. Back here on this Allegro bus, and you can see Mr. Lewis has got this cut out. Now, we did add this that goes way up underneath this to try to give us some support so we don't have none of that. And then we've got the mold and mildew stain remover sprayed in there. And then Cousin Gary went to go get us some, what did you say, Lewis, you put in this?
5/8 severe duty plywood.
5/8 severe duty plywood. So Lewis is just adding a piece right here to give us some strength. He'll square that up, and then we're gonna put that severe duty plywood back in. Should be ready to go back together. So Lewis has got the floor now in, sealed it all. We got all that fixed, sprayed that with good sealant, stain and mold and mildew remover and killer. So we're gonna go ahead and put all this back down now. We're back up here on this Winnebago Journey that had the Phylon blow off. We've got everything pretty well cleaned up and ready. Just got a few more things. We're having a little bit of trouble with that satellite dish up there to get that off there. Get that off first thing in the morning. But as you can see, that railing obviously is attached here, and then this Phylon, the Phylon tucks in right there. We're actually going to do away with this particular rail and use a totally different rail. I'll show you guys as we do that. Then we can mechanically fasten this along with the material we put on there. Be a lot nicer. And it'll be secure. So we got John up here now putting the glue on here. You can see where we made this nice piece of metal to make up for the break in the Phylon. So we've now got that on there. Looks real good. It matches up with this when we roll it down. So now John's getting all the glue on, and then we're gonna roll the material. Okay, so we got the new piece rolled on. You can see the difference between the new glued piece and the part we have not glued yet. But now see, with that glue in there, we'll be able to go through and get all those wrinkles worked out of there. Look how nice that's laying down there. So now on to the back. Now, you know, we left the fiberglass roof on here, and then we have put the extreme ply on top of this. Now we've gone through and I pulled all this up. This stuff was about this long. We've got it actually tucked all the way underneath there. And then I have cut this even with the Phylon. And so you can see as this goes over here, now when we put our rail up here, all this is going to be mechanically fastened to the actual coach instead of this sitting down in the rail and possibly blowing apart. So we're gonna mechanically fasten all this. Now the rail will be here this afternoon. I had to get that from my supplier. But as you can see, now right here's where these two, the metal, you saw we put metal on there. But see, when this is all mechanically fastened on here, look how nice that looks. So this will all be mechanically fastened. Now you can see up here how much I've got hanging over here, about that much. Now I'm gonna cut it back, and then again, we're gonna tuck it under the front. So all that'll be up under the front, mechanically fastened here, mechanically fastened on the side. This extreme ply is tough stuff. Once we get this all done, this coach here is gonna be bulletproof, because remember, it's always gonna have that fiberglass underneath there, which this was nothing wrong with this part, just ripped off right there. But now that we've put metal under this, tied it all together, this is gonna be a nice roof when it's all tied up, sealed. So we had a little 4 kW Cummins generator come in and had a little bit of an oil leak coming from right here. May have to change the valve cover gasket. But look at all the oil it's got coming on right here. That's crazy. So we're gonna have to investigate that. But when we pulled the cover off, look at this. Been an animal in there making a nest. So Mr. Lewis is finishing up on this Winnebago Journey that we did the roof on. It had the Phylon damage, and you can see now that we've got the new metal rail in there. Everything's behind here, mechanically fastened to that. We are going to put insert trim on that. They've got all the fixturing back up here now. other than that antenna. We got to do that here in just a second. Did get the new skylight in. It's in and sealed. They're just doing a final cleanup. Got the new King Jack antenna on there to take the place of that big wine guard crank up antenna. And you can see right here where we put this metal in here. Got that all put on there. Taped all the seams, glued this down. So made that radius, but now we got the drainer, the guards for the rain gutter in there, the drains. So yeah, just doing a finish wipe down. They're getting everything finished up. But yeah, now that this is on here like this is mechanically fastened to this roof. Well, that finishes us up this week here at Shelburne RV. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Man, what a week. We got a lot more coming. Got a big announcement coming here in another week or so. So stay tuned with us on that. You get to tag along on some stuff we got coming on. And remember that this video is Cousin Gary approved.